Father, we believe in God the Son. We believe in the Holy Spirit. And we believe they're all three in one. Father God, we come now in the name of Jesus to say thank you for being our Father, our Lord, our Savior, our King, our everything. We thank you for being the bread of life. We thank you for being our sustainer, our keeper. We thank you, Father, for being the way to heaven and the way out of hell. We thank you for that. We thank you for being the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And so we say hallelujah be to God. Now, Father, we thank you for your presence, your power, your anointing in this meeting. Help everything that we do tonight to have motives that are pure and according to your will and your way. Holy Spirit, please have thine own way in this meeting. And we ask it all in the holy name of Jesus, and all believers who believe in Jesus the Christ say amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. First order of business be to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I'd ask that we amend the agenda to put the election ballot for ECG on the agenda. We have to select 2 candidates if we care to, otherwise we do not have to vote. However, if we decide to vote, the vote has to be in by 5 p.m. on Monday, March the 23rd. And this is the only time we will have an opportunity to express a desire to elect 2 candidates to the Electric Cities of Georgia Board.
Motion to amend as requested.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do you have any questions or discussion? Where do you want to add that, at the end of the meeting, or?
The mayor, whatever the mayor thinks, we could put it on the agenda at the end.
Okay.
Fine with me.
Okay, that's what we'll do. Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business be the approval of the minutes for the January 13th, 2020 and the January 23rd, 2020 meetings. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as published?
I'll make a motion that we accept them as they are.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have any questions or discussions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business be discussion and decision for a proposal for ancillary services from Heathcote and Davis, Inc., authorizing for the mayor to sign.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. We would like to use Heathcote and Davis to assist us in our water loss detection. Heathcote and Davis oversaw the leak detection survey, and we would like to use them again. This is on an as-need basis, on an hourly basis. There is no retainer. They only work if we ask them to work, and the agreement or contract has been approved or reviewed, I should say. That's a misstatement by the city attorney.
Okay. All right. What's the will of the council?
May I ask a question?
We have to get a motion and so forth before we get to that. Do I have a motion to,
I'll make a motion that we,
have a motion to have a second?
A second.
Have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussion?
Now,
Ms. Hines? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Greashaver, since we've hired this, Mr. Russell, can he not detect, the water loss that we're having? And does he have expertise in that area?
Well, we have started our water leak detection. He has worked with Brennan Jones, and they are recommending putting some saddle valves in at various points. But it appears that he would like the help and assistance from Heathcote and Davis. He has reviewed the proposal and has recommended that we approve it.
And so how much, unless I'm missing this, how much should the council, the majority, go in this direction? How much are their hourly rate?
Well, their hourly rates are there.
Was it listed?
It is in the agenda package,
Oh, okay. But just for,
but
citizen input.
I can tell you, their standard hourly rate schedule is principal in charge, $165 per hour, senior project manager, $135 per hour, project engineer, between $85 and $125 per hour, engineer intern, $60 to $85 per hour, senior CAD designer, $90 per hour, CAD designer, $75 per hour, administration, $60 per hour, and resident project rep is $55 per hour.
Okay, that's good information. I did not turn my page further enough. For our citizen to know, this hourly rate, in my opinion, and also these hourly rates would depend on how many hours that they would give this city that service. My next question to you is this. How much have we, since we are in the conversation concerning consultant and helpers, how much have we paid, if any, for Mr. Ron Owens' help?
Zero.
Is that it?
Yes.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Well,
How do you, would it be appropriate to just average the hourly rate here, or do you, looking at these different categories, that you would think the resident project rep would be the one that we would probably utilize the most? Now, I don't understand some of that, so that's why I'm asking, but that's somebody, the bottom dollar figure down here will be the one that's hands-on, that's here to help.
If we have to go that way, yes. We are hoping that it is just a small number of hours. It would probably be with the senior project manager at $135 an hour. However, if it gets down to it, certainly we would use the resident project rep.
I understand. I know there was some real concerns about keeping Ron Owens on retainer for some X amount of dollars, but obviously we've been able to work around that, so I'm assuming that we'll be as conservative with this company as we were with Ron, if it's anything to compare to?
True. We only use them when needed, and we give them specific tasks. So the hourly rate is lessened because the hours are lessened.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor. I remember in the recent past, either just before I came on the council or just after, we had somebody do some water analysis and they came up with, we had a very small water loss and it just related to some leaky fire hydrants. Is that this company?
No, the company that did the leak detection survey was Matchpoint, and you're correct. They came up with a loss of 6% in the distribution system. Heathcote and Davis is not Matchpoint.
All right, well, my comment is this. I'm not concerned with what appears to be high cost of getting someone to do this. I'm concerned with results. It is my contention that we continue to waste over $50,000 a year on water loss, and it's well over 30%. If we don't do something, if our new director, listen, I'm for whatever it takes to get this down to 15% is actually reasonable. 10% is 10 to 15 is normal, but we're in big trouble, and I don't think we're really aware of how bad it is. And we need to get somebody out here that can do something. And we've known for years there's a big problem in the Mill Village because they left the old lines there. So I don't know what it's going to take, but I'm going to support whatever you and the director come up with for, and forgive me for not using your title properly, utility director, I apologize. It's been a long day. I'm going to support whatever you two come up with, but I sure want to see some results on stopping water leakage. So I will definitely support this.
Anybody else? Okay, the only comment I have is how much did we put in the budget for leak detection?
We did not
We didn't
put
put any?
anything in the budget. This will come under professional services.
All right, anybody else got any questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next item is discussion decision on the amendment to the service delivery strategy.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, as we talked about in the work session, working with Coweta County, they would like us to join with them in amending the service delivery strategy to include housing and to include the Sonoy downtown, the Sonoy Public Housing Authority, the Granville Housing Authority, and the Housing Authority of the City of Palmetto in the service delivery strategy, because when you apply for a grant that has to do with housing, the state requires that it be in the service delivery strategy. Therefore, we would like to amend the service delivery strategy. Specifically, the City of Newnan, in partnership with the Housing Authority of Newnan, City of Granville, in partnership with the Granville Housing Authority, City of Sonoy, in partnership with the Sonoy Public Housing Authority, and the City of Palmetto, in partnership with the Housing Authority of the City of Palmetto. That is the amendment we are asking you to approve, and we recommend approval, thereby putting the service housing in the service delivery strategy.
Do I have a motion to amend the service delivery strategy?
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion second, do we have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business, discussion decision on signing a letter in support of the funding for the low-income housing energy assistance program for fiscal year 2021.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, as we discussed at the work session, the American Public Power Association is urging its members to join in signing the National Energy and Utility Affordable Coalition all parties letter to House and Senate appropriators in support of funding for the low-income home energy assistance program, commonly known as LIHEAP, in fiscal year 2021. And as we mentioned at the work session, some of our residents take advantage of this program, and we recommend approval. It is nothing that is binding. It is just adding our name to the letter in support of funding in fiscal year 2021 with the federal government.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I motion to approve this letter of support and funding for the low-income home energy assistance program for the fiscal year 2021.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business, discussion decision on public works project to be paid in 2013-2018 splosh roads money. Tree trimming estimated cost $100,000, and hot asphalt pothole patching trailer estimated at $50,000.
Mr. Mayor, we'd like to ask the mayor and city council to table this item for further research on alternatives and to get more specific pricing.
Okay, do I have a motion to table?
Motion to table.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion, second table. Have any questions or discussion?
I would like to ask a question. I thought we discussed at our work session that we would have a committee meeting. Did I miss something?
No, you did ask.
All right, so what was, I thought we agreed.
The demonstration of the machine wasn't until Thursday afternoon. It was quite interesting. Left very little time to try to put a committee meeting together that the public could attend.
So you
It
had
would have
a
had been
demonstration?
Friday night.
You had a demonstration?
Yes.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
The city manager announced it at our work session. That there was,
Or maybe I missed that. Didn't hear correctly. So we're not gonna have a committee meeting?
Good.
we can,
Yeah.
we can,
We can?
yes.
So I'll listen for me.
Okay.
See me after the meeting.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
Miss Ruby, see me after the meeting.
I will.
And at the committee meeting, can you set it up after you talk to Mr. Al? So you have, he's got some new thoughts, and it would be advantageous to have him involved, make sure he can report first.
Yes,
And would you advise all the council members of your meeting so that if we're not on the committee, we can still be aware of it?
yes.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor of tabling, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business, discussion decision on authorization for planning commission members to attend training in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, as we discussed at the work session, the planning director, Brennan Jones, has requested authorization for the planning commission members to attend training from the Carl Vinson Institute. Their training for planning commission members is March 26, 2020, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Lawrenceville, Georgia. The cost is $190 per person. If all 5 members attend, it'll be $950. If Brennan Jones attends, it'll be $1,100.
I do have a motion to send the members to the Lawrenceville training.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion second. Any further discussion?
Question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Al, if as a council member, I chose to go at my own expense, would this be allowed at something like that, or do you have to be on the committee?
You could attend, sir, and we would register you to attend.
Okay, I would like to go, but I'll let you know, and if I go, I'll pay my own expense, whether it's authorized or not, I will pay my own expense. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, where is that at? I'm sorry, you through, Jim?
It is in Lawrenceville, Georgia.
And what's the date?
The date is March 22nd, 2020, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Training from the Carl Vinson Institute.
I'm along with Mr. Sales, I may try to go to,
Okay.
at my expense.
Okay, any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order of business is discussion decision on veto of ordinance number 2019-13 to amend section 38-1B of the code of ordinance to employ the services of rating specialists for not less than every 5 years to study and review the rates then in effect and suggest changes.
Motion to override the veto.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussion? All right, the only comment I have is, in my opinion, the annual rate study is the best way to monitor the rates needed to be charged to our customers, and more moderate rate increases are manageable for our customers, rather than waiting and kicking it up a big amount every 5 years.
I have a comment.
All right,
We can still have a rate study anytime we want to. We're just not being forced to have it every year.
anybody else?
Well, if we can have one anytime we want to, why not just stick with the 1 year or the 2? Since you can have it anytime you want to, just my personal opinion.
Because it's a savings.
Do you know how much?
Yeah, I think that's been discussed
Well,
in previous meetings.
Okay, have a motion to override the veto. Have a second.
Was already seconded.
All right, and I'm still getting there. I've given my reasons for it. And so now we'll call for the vote. All in favor of overriding, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
aye.
And aye. Motion carries.
I never knew the mayor got to vote.
For the record, I am opposed. Not a vote, but I can voice my opinion. I think I can still have that right. Next order of business, discussion decision on veto of ordinance number 2019-14 to amend section 3.03 of the charter.
Make the motion to override the veto.
Second.
I have a motion, and I have a second. Okay, you motioned, and he seconded. All right. Do I have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I do have some comments, but as I am represented by council, I will ask him to address my concern.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Good evening. My name is Chris Balch. I'm a lawyer in Atlanta. And as the mayor indicated, I am his personal representative tonight to discuss two of the next three items on your agenda. Mr. Mayor, I need some direction from you or from the council, please, as to whether we're addressing all three of these vetoes or just the two related to section 303 and 308.
Well, Councilman, he just read off one of the next three vetoes.
Okay. That's fine, Mr. Councilman. I appreciate that direction. I appreciate that clarification. Mayor and council, the issue here is the effect 635-6. Part of the Home Rule Act that was enacted by the Georgia General Assembly several years ago. And it addresses what topics are authorized to be changed by a city council without going to the General Assembly for an amendment to the charter. As you know, under 3635-3, generally speaking, city councils have the power to address changes to their charter as they see fit. However, that power is generally limited by 3635-6. Specifically, in A1 of that code section, there is a limitation on any local act that does not involve the General Assembly that would have the effect of changing the form of the governing authority. The proposals in this particular amendment in section 303 would have the effect of changing this council from a strong mayor form of government to a council city manager form of government. As specifically discussed in a 2005 case involving the city of Milledgeville, that requires an act of the General Assembly. It's not something that this council has the power to do under the laws enacted by the Georgia General Assembly.
Sir, can I say something?
Whatever you'd like.
Can you tell me your name again?
My name is Chris Balch.
And I understand that you're an attorney, and I'm just a dumb old country boy. But what gives you the right to come here as a personal representative of the mayor and tell us what the state legislature is going to do and not do and what we have the right to do here? Now, I have some state legislatures and our state senator that gave me guidance through this thing from the beginning. Now, do you want to go there? Do you want to let's bring them into this loop?
Councilman,
If you're gonna stand up here and tell us what we can and can't do, I know what the home run rule is, I know all about it. So I don't understand that you're representing him personally and come to our meeting to tell us what we can and can't do. There's something about that picture that's just not right.
oh, Councilman Wacusser, forgive me for mispronouncing
That's
your
okay,
name, sir.
everybody does that. I won't hold that against you.
The mayor gave me the floor and offered to ask me to speak to this question. And
Okay,
so-
is what you got to say tonight gonna have any bearing over what we decide here tonight? I don't think so, not if you're representing him personally. So, do you understand?
I understand your perspective, sir. Fact of the matter is, the mayor asked me to speak, and I was doing what I was asked to do and what I was hired to
And
do.
ultimately, what you say isn't gonna have anything to do with our decision.
Well, Councilman, what
Because
I'm
it's not
trying
gonna change my mind.
to do, Councilman, is respectfully suggest to this council that what the task that you, or the course that you are apparently intent on pursuing violates the law. And the choice that you have, and you can make that choice. I'm not suggesting that you don't have the right to make the choice. But the choice you have tonight is to either vote on that intent and to override this veto and change your form of government, which will get you sued to overturn that decision, or you can deviate from that course and decide that you're going to follow the law and go to your state legislatures to make a change if that's what you intend to do.
I resent being threatened.
Nobody's threatened, I don't think.
He needs to say, I'm
And-
expressing an opinion. I'm being threatened, and I resent it.
You know, this is just all out of line here. If that ultimately, that's what you came here to say. You came here to threaten us that we're gonna be sued, that if we override these vetoes, we're breaking the law. Right? That's what you just said. That's exactly what you just said.
What I
And
came
I'm
here,
like Councilmember Sales, I don't really appreciate being threatened. I don't like a private attorney, in particularly, coming in here and threatening me.
Councilman, I would
You know,
suggest to
these
you,
are some things that as a council, we represent the people of Grantville that are there in favor of this. So,
Councilman, I will respectfully respond to both you and to Councilman Sells that as a veteran of the United States Marine Corps, I don't make threats. I state what the intent of my client is if you pursue this action. It's not a threat, Councilman Sells. It's not any sort of a threat.
We disagree. When you tell me I'm gonna be sued for vetoing this, for overriding this veto, you tell me I'm gonna be sued, sir, that is a threat.
by a private
And
attorney
you can,
on top of that.
we can disagree on
There's
Webster.
just something about this, it stinks, the whole thing.
I call for the vote.
Go ahead.
Your call is out of order because I have recognized the attorney, and until he completes all of his remarks, he has the floor.
You have a path that is lawful. If
Sir,
you
what was your MOS in the Marine Corps? I'm just curious.
started off as an 0330, which is a machine gunner. I finished off my life running the Staff Judge Advocate's office for the 1st Marine Division.
Oh, wow, that's impressive.
I held billets in every rank. Every time I held a billet in the United States Marine Corps, I held it for at least 3 pay grades above my enlisted rank. I earned a United States Navy Achievement Medal as part of my service in the United States Marine Corps on active duty.
That's
As Mr. Grieshaber well knows, I clerked for a United States District Judge who served in the Albany District when he was the city attorney in Albany. If you want to come after my credentials, Mr.
No,
Walker, sir,
I just asked, I was in the Marine Corps myself, I just wanted to know.
Appreciate your service, sir.
If you-
I do too.
Okay, now, he has the floor, and I'm not gonna keep allowing interruptions.
the plain language of the statute is clear. It has a clear, complete, and entire admonition about what the jurisdiction and authority of this council is and what it is not. The authority of this council is circumscribed by the Georgia General Assembly, who created the city of Grantville and who amends its charter as requested by this council. If you elected to, you could go to your local delegation and ask for these changes to be made by local act. You have that power. The one thing I would suggest to you that you could not do, because it compounds the error that you're attempting to commit tonight, is you cannot make the existence of the mayor's power contingent on a hiring decision of a third party. What you do in section 303 is you say if there is no city manager, the mayor has certain powers. If there is not a city manager, the mayor has other powers. That is effectively changing the form of government from a city manager council form of government to a strong mayor form of government simply by the effect of a hiring decision. The General Assembly would not allow you to do that even if the rest of what you're trying to do tonight were lawful, which it is not. The goal of my presentation was not to pick a fight. The goal of my presentation was not to threaten anyone. It was to explain your alternative choices. The goal of my presentation was to describe for you what the plain language of the statute requires and what the consequences of ignoring that plain language can be. Mr. Mayor, I think that's all I need to present at this time. I will also suggest to the council that my remarks that it applies to 303, also apply to your consideration of the veto of section 308, because similarly, 308 makes the same errors of changing the form of government and making the change contingent on a hiring decision, so that the form of government for this city would flip-flop back and forth depending on whether or not somebody sat in Mr. Grieshaber's chair.
Now,
You mean the city manager's chair?
Yes, sir. Sorry, not specifically you individually, Mr. Grieshaber, please excuse me. In the city manager's chair, if someone is sitting in that billet, in that office, then the form of government changes simply by the filling of that office as opposed to that office being vacant. If there's nothing else, Mr. Mayor, I'll be done.
May I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am, of course.
Before you leave, I want to make this crystal clear. You said this is unlawful, what they are trying to do tonight?
Yes, ma'am, in my judgment it is.
Thank you.
sir, so I'm assuming that in your professional opinion, that if we're unlawful and somebody's gonna sue us, that will be you.
On the mayor's behalf, yes, sir, if he makes that decision.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do, Councilman, is talk you out of my having a lawsuit to file. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't want to file a lawsuit against this city. It's not my intent. I represent cities for a living and have done my entire career except for the 2 years I spent in chambers with Judge Fitzpatrick. It is not my intent to pick a fight. It is not my intent to threaten anyone. It is not my intent to articulate anything other than the law as I understand it and the facts as I believe them to be. I don't want to file that lawsuit. I think it's disruptive to the governance of this city. I think it's disruptive to the governance of this council. And with the mayor's permission, I will tell you, I have done everything I can to talk him out of this.
Talk him out of what?
Out of filing a lawsuit and picking this fight with this council.
Well, I guess we'll just have to see how this all comes out, because I had some guidance by our state representatives and state senators. So I guess I'm prepared to move forward.
It's entirely your call, Councilman.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, thank you for your
Thank you
time.
very much, Chris. And I'm not threatening this. I retained him for the purpose of enforcing what I believe is the charter of this city and the Georgia State Code, which each and every one of us took an oath to uphold the laws of the state of Georgia and the charter of this city. And if you go against that law that has been cited to you, then you all each are involved in violation of your oath of office.
Thank you.
And it's not a threat, but I intend to enforce the charter. And y'all, if y'all want to do this, just like he said, you can do it, but there's a proper way of doing it, and this is not it. Anybody else got any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
Chris, thank you for your service. And I'd also like to thank you for adding in my judgment. And you have expressed your judgment, and I appreciate that. What I believe, and what I believe will hold up, is we're not changing the form of government. We are defining positions. We hired a city manager for $70,000+. And we hired the city manager because he has the expertise and the skill to manage the city. That's what he is trained to do. And our job is to watch him and make sure this city is run properly. That's why we're here. And you stated the word you used, that if we do this, we have been disruptive. Let me tell you what is disruptive. What is disruptive is the way the mayor has mishandled his position undermine the professional city manager and undermine him so that he can't do his job and he can't manage the city. And we've had one disaster after another because his untrained, unskilled judgment is what is running this city instead of the man we've hired to do it. So I suspect and hope we're going to go through with this, and if you are correct, you can change it. But it is not my opinion you are, and we will go forward or we won't go forward. But my judgment won't be based on what you said tonight. However, I appreciate you being here and representing your client. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Sir, have you read the?
Wait until you acknowledge.
You acknowledge?
I'm really getting short on patience of you just
Well,
blurting out anytime you want to.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, but you asked, did anybody else have anything to say?
Go ahead, and you proper
Okay.
demeanor to do it. Go ahead.
You know, some of these changes resulted as a chain effect of the district attorney of Coweta County recommending that we hire a outside legal team to look into a project that happened here 2 years ago. And we did. We hired a very reputable law firm out of Atlanta to look into this. Have you read that report?
Yeah.
Huh?
He's aware of what went on.
Did you read the
Aware of
report,
that.
sir? I didn't ask you, I asked him.
Mr.
Did you
Mayor,
read the
am I
report?
authorized to answer the question?
I just asked you, did you read the report in its entirety?
And I'm asking the presiding officer if I'm authorized to answer the question, because I'm not been given the floor or called to the podium to address answers and questions from the witness.
If you think it's proper, yes, good man.
Councilman, I've not read the report. I am aware of the situation for which the investigation arose. I've read the report is prepared by the sheriff's office.
Okay.
I wasn't aware that there was a second report
I
after the
think
second.
we can provide you with a copy of that before you leave here this evening. You could take some consideration into that. And between the recommendations, and they're only, hey, they're a lawyer like you, they made recommendations. But beyond that, then it was backed up by legislators, I'll put it that way. So I think you might ought to consider reading that report. That's where some of these minor changes in the charter have come from.
With respect, Councilman, what recommendations were made are immaterial to the legal position that I have articulated this evening. The legal position I have articulated is that there is a path to make the changes you are asking for. It is not the path you have elected to proceed on. And frankly, there's more than 250 people who sit in the General Assembly. If you go ask any group of those 250 members of the General Assembly, whether on the House side or the Senate side, you're going to get 300 answers to the same question. So I fully expect that your local delegation has given you the advice that they believe is accurate. What I'm trying to suggest to you is that with a judiciary that is empowered by the Supreme Court to look at the plain language of a statute and apply that plain language, and to look at the plain language of the ordinance that you're attempting to override a veto on tonight and determine what's going on by that, you're not changing responsibilities. You're fundamentally altering the way the city has been functioning since the last charter was adopted by the General Assembly in 1988. You are stripping the mayor of his supervisory responsibilities and delegating those to the city manager. Now you have the absolute authority to make the suggestions and make the changes that Mr. Sells referred to about hiring a professional city manager to run the city and have that be the form of government you want to follow. I don't dispute that power. But where you get that power is from the General Assembly, not from your own selves. And that's the dispute that you and I have tonight, Councilman, is where does the authority of this council to act arise? And the authority of this council is limited by operation of law to those powers that the General Assembly has granted. And if the General Assembly has not granted you power, or has given you power and then reserved some of that power back to itself, which is what it's done in Article 35 of Title 36, that limits the ability of this council to act. That's the black letter law as I understand it. That's the straight out of the book, read the text, the words don't mean anything else, rule.
Okay, I guess we'll find out. And I was just curious, you work for a lot of cities, you said, you referenced that earlier.
Yes, sir.
How many charters do you know that go back to 1988 that haven't been completely amended as you're saying we gotta do these?
Well, I'm the general counsel for the city of Brookhaven, who's only 7 years old, and we've had amendments to our charter already. So I can tell you
They amend
that,
their charter, but it hadn't been completely rewritten.
no, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor?
But as I understand it, that's not what you're saying, that they can't make the changes, but there is a process that has to be followed under the Georgia law.
Yes, sir.
And just because our two representatives at the legislature have indicated, I guess, that they're gonna approve these changes, or would approve them, they still have to be approved by the whole General Assembly, am I correct?
There would have to be local act introduced to make the changes that are proposed into sections 303 and 308, as I read those changes. And because those are not a change to the descriptions of the job responsibilities, they fundamentally alter the mechanism by which the city conducts its business.
Anybody else? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor of overriding the veto?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
For the record, I am also. Veto is overridden and we'll go forward. Next order of business will be the amendment, what was it we amended there?
Sir, we're at discussion decision on veto of ordinance number 2019-15 to add a new paragraph to Charter Section 304, which pertains to the city manager.
Okay, so they didn't take all three of them?
No, you read off one at a time. You read the first one. So now we've gotta do them individually.
All right.
Motion to override the veto.
All right, have a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing-
I would just like to say, I hope the citizen will keep in mind what the lawyer has said about how unlawful this is. I don't know how all of this is going to come out, only God knows that. But what grieves my heart is that we sit here and we hear a lawyer who I believe knows what he's talking about, and yet he tells us what we are doing is unlawful, but yet 3 people decide that we can go ahead and do what is unlawful. Now, to me, that is a sad day in our city. And what is even more interesting, or maybe not more interesting, but we have, under a previous administration, none of this. When the city councilman said, I think the charter needs to be tweaked, nothing was done. And I'm speaking of the time when Mr. Sales served for 4 years as the mayor. And one of the councilmen wanted to make changes to the charter. I was an eyewitness to him asking, and nothing was done. But now, we are making all these sweeping changes, and the lawyer is telling us it is unlawful to go this way. Why can't we just go the right way so that we can get right results in the end? And then everybody wins, in my opinion. Yes.
Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
it is the lawyer's opinion that what we're doing is illegal. It is yours and Ms. Hines' opinion that is what we're doing is illegal. That doesn't put it in stone, and that doesn't mean it is. Have you ever watched a court and got the first side get up there and, oh my gosh, they're gonna hang him? And then the defense stands up and you go, oh, there's another whole side to this. So I don't think I'm voting on anything illegal. I think I'm voting on the need for the citizens of Grantville. And I don't know what you're talking about from when I was mayor, but I certainly don't dispute it. My memory is not as good as yours, but I'll tell you this. There was not a need for this clarification when I was mayor, because by golly, I needed the city manager to do his job, and I let him do his job. I never drove around town and told any city employee what to do. I never undermined the city manager, because that's his job. And when you hire good people, you need to let them do their job, and you need to supervise them doing their job. You don't need to undermine them and shut them down. So yes, this is different when I was mayor, and it's because there's a different way the mayor's office is being managed. We're clarifying it so that there's no question that when this was set up, it was anticipated that we would pay an expensive, qualified, educated, experienced city manager to run this city and handle the employees. We're just clarifying that for those who don't think that's the case. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, please keep in mind, citizen, when Mr. Sales was the mayor, they fired the city manager, and I was an eyewitness to that. His name was Johnny Williams. He is now deceased and can't speak for himself, but they did fire him.
Mr. Mayor,
That was under your watch.
Mr. Mayor,
Are you finished, Ruben? Okay, go ahead, Mr.
that's exactly right. And it was a unanimous decision of all 4 council members to kick him to the curb. I would have voted for it, but they didn't give me a chance because they were unanimous. The city council acted and did their job because the city manager didn't do his job. And if we can get the mayor out of the way and this city manager doesn't do his job, this council may fire him too. But the city council did their job 4-0, and I didn't get to vote to break the tie. Thank you for bringing that up. That was a proud moment.
You know what, I'm glad I did, because I was at a local business a couple of weeks ago.
Now,
And
Mayor,
this-
you made me
You're out
recognize,
of order.
no, she's speaking.
You are out of order.
You didn't recognize her.
Okay, Mr.
And
Mayor,
now we're just going back and forth, back here, we need to take a vote.
Mr. Mayor, may I speak?
Yes, you recognize.
I was at a local business 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the businessman said, the city manager is spending too much money, and he needs to go. And I asked Mr. Sales, why don't y'all get rid of him? He said, Mr. Sales said, I can't get the support I need to do it. Now, Mr. Sales,
I'm listening to gossip, and I thoroughly resent it.
Out of
I am
order.
listening to gossip.
You have not been recognized.
Gossip, this is disgusting that you would use
Their
gossip.
opinion, just like your opinion. but you
No,
still-
it's gossip.
no, he was
In
talking
order.
to me. It was not gossip. He was talking to me.
Good Lord.
Okay.
Can we take a vote?
Not until
I
she-
second the
not-
motion calling for the vote.
Not until she has completed their statement.
I'm just sharing with the citizen what really some of the citizens are saying and what some of the a councilman has said. I'm just saying that. It's not gossip. We were having a one-on-one conversation. You call that gossip? I'm just repeating what he said.
Mr. Mayor,
Okay,
Are you done?
for right now.
Okay, all in favor of the motion, signify by aye.
In favor of the motion?
you killed the motion. The motion's not on the table. I asked for the floor.
You asked for the vote.
No, you killed it when you said.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. My error.
I just want to
My
say,
error.
I'm absolutely disgusted that you can bring a hearsay conversation. You don't want to call it gossip, I do, but it's definitely hearsay. You're telling us what I said that was told to somebody else. You weren't a party to that conversation, and it's absolutely disgusting that you would use that to discredit me at a city council meeting.
I'm not trying to.
Listen, no, you're interrupting me. You used that nasty comment to discredit me. Because you heard what somebody said that I said. How disgusting. And I can tell you, a lot of people have said things about you that I wouldn't bring up in this meeting, no matter how good or how bad, because I didn't hear them. Because that's crap. That's gossip, that's hearsay, that's nonsense, and has no place in a professional meeting. Thank you.
That with the motion.
Mr. Mayor.
We recognize you, go ahead.
Okay. For those of you who, I'm not gonna go back and forth with this. I repeated what was repeated to me in the conversation because this business owner felt like too much money was being spent by our city manager. There are other citizens in Grantville who have said the same thing. They have said a whole lot of the same thing. And so, Mr. Mayor, whatever anybody has said to you about me, Mr. Sales, and you wish to say it, go right ahead, because you have that right. This
Well,
is
that's not my
gossip.
character.
This is, but it could be your reputation. I'd rather have character any day than reputation. But anyway, I'm just repeating what the businessman said because he was a bit concerned about the expenditures for our city.
Okay. And as far as the hearsay and everything, Mr. Sale, I might point out that this whole business about that the mayor interferes with, it's got to be hearsay because you and I have not seen each other more than 30 minutes outside of these council meetings. So I don't know how in the world you can judge what I do or don't do other than what you hear.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
you call for the vote on
Okay.
the vetoes.
Second.
A motion and a second to vote. All in favor of the vote, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And I also, for the record. Third one, I guess, 308. Mr. Breachaver, is that what you want voted on next?
Yes, sir. The next item on the agenda is discussion decision on veto of ordinance number 2019-16 to amend section 3.08 of the charter.
You have a motion?
Motion to override the veto.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
And a second.
Have a motion and a second. Have any questions or discussion on that one? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And I also, for the record, opposed. Now that brings us citizens' comment.
No, sir. I apologize
Oh,
by saying
yeah,
no, sir. However, we have amended the agenda. We have to decide if we're going to vote in the ECG special election for board members. There are two candidates to fill the remaining terms of Mr. Whittington and Mr. Coert's vacant seats. We recommend that we vote, and we recommend that we vote for Mr. Chris White, City of Thomasville, and Mr. Sammy Inman, the City of West Point. As you can tell by the ballot, Chris White is with the City of Thomasville. He is the Executive Director of Public Utilities, and Mr. Sammy Inman is the Utilities Director from the City of West Point.
Motion.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve and vote as requested by the city manager.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I have a question. Does anybody know either one of these as to why they're basing a recommendation on?
Do
Did you
Yes, sir.
make the recommendation?
Yes, sir. I worked with both of them.
Have you? Are they the only ones running?
No, sir, there's 7 people running. There's Mr. Kenneth Stock, who is the Assistant City Manager of the City of Albany. Mr. Adam Wall, he's the Electric Distribution Superintendent, the City of Ellaville. Mr. J.D. Stallings, who is the Mayor of the City of Thomaston. Mr. Freddie Morgan is the Electric Director of the City of Cummington. Mr. Jeff Lewis, Fitzgerald, Water Light, and B, I don't know what that stands for, Commission. He is the General Manager and CEO. And then as mentioned, Mr. Chris Wright, the City of Thomasville, Executive Director of Public Utilities. And I will tell you, my working with him that is who we buy excess electric from when we're short, and we pay $2 a kilowatt, which is cheaper than we can buy it off the spot market. Mr. Sammy Inman is the City of West Point Utilities Director. I have had the privilege of knowing him for the last 3 years and recommend him because he is always one that is willing to help and share his knowledge of utilities.
Thank you. All right,
You're welcome.
anybody else? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by
Aye.
all opposed. Ayes have it, so ordered. We have any, city council or citizens comments? All right, Marion Cecily, 49 on Grange Street.
Mary C. 49 on Grange Street. Jim, I'm not picking on you, but I'm asking you, would you please fix the sidewalk in front of 85 Grange?
Mr. Cecily, I wish you'd asked me before you disparaged me on social media.
Hey, look, I'm asking you a question. Don't start off getting off the topic.
Respect
Okay.
each other, don't.
Okay, you're not gonna pull that with me.
Okay.
You fix the sidewalk,
Respectful of each
you're
other.
criminally negligent. You do this on every property you have.
Mr.
Okay?
Cecily, bring it
Well,
down.
give me your bullshit.
Bring it down. Thank you. All right, is that all you had, Marion?
Yeah. Oh, I wanna, we have 3 people on the trust committee. Gail Potts Thompson, Johnny Cooks, and Leon Dies. Still looking for 1 more. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Lewis?
Hello, good evening. My name is Lewis. And,
Could you speak to the mic so that we can hear?
oh,
you?
I'm so sorry.
Here. Right.
Sorry.
Could you wait and start his time till she's ready, Al?
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
about that.
I haven't even started
Good.
it yet. You can sit down if you want.
I think.
Oh, that's right.
You-
I apologize.
Okay, so my name is Lewis, and you all know me, obviously, because I live here, and I've lived here for a long time. So, what I'd like to discuss is, you're talking about the new, the subdivision that's close to the store. I'm sorry, I'm talking about the sidewalks that are close to the store.
Turn that mic towards you, please.
We need to be fixing the sidewalks in town. And the one on Lone Oak Road is too far. We need to be focused on, I have 5 grandchildren. My daughter was recently walking with the kids on the sidewalk, and there's an awful mess with the tree that was down on Lone Oak Road, and Lone Oak Road.
Lone Oak Street.
Yeah, okay, that's an interpreter error, thank you. And there was a tree that was down over there, and Right. So it was leaning and my daughter had to walk around the tree with the children. And I saw my daughter, her arms were scratched up from the tree. It was right there. It was leaning over the sidewalk. And we have got to fix this so that people can pass safely. It's a bad situation. Yeah, and it's a bad situation, and we've got to improve these issues first that are affecting town, and then the next thing we can do is go further out of town and address the issues that need improvement out of town. And that's what I got. And on Polk Street,
Post.
Post, where Brown School is, and Post Street, the basketball court. Why are we talking about, handling, which one's he talking about? The basketball fence? That is too expensive, I think. We really need to be focused first on town, on the things that affect us directly, improving the in-town area. That's my concern. But I saw Jim is trying to improve town and make a statement about it at one point, and Ruby did not. She was against that. But that I do agree with. We need to improve downtown. So thank you for your time. Thank you. And I hope that this will be successful.
Thank you, Louis. All right, Bobby J. Turner.
Yeah.
If you would, state your name and address for the record. please.
Yes, sir. Greetings, Mayor, council members. My name is Bobby Turner. I reside 59 Hilltop Circle here in Grantville, new resident. My concern here today is several. It was two factors. However, one in particular is dealing with the American with Disability Act, based on this town being purple, the Purple Heart acknowledgement. I don't know if it's just on paper power or words able to be spoken based on your council members along the mayor. And what I mean by that is, again, American with Disability Act, I am 100% disabled veteran. Last duty station headquarters, 2nd, 21st Infantry, 24 Mechanized, Fort Stewart. We were first deployed, Delta Storm, Delta Shield. With that said, there are two real estate brokers that are targeting quite a few of us as first responders. And I've been on both ends, military and APD, up there with Paul Howard, Fort County District Attorney. I'm concerned about, with the American Disability Act, are there going to be any sidewalks, keep in mind the Purple Heart, that handicap accessible throughout this entire town? Again, I reside in 59 Hilltop Circle. And with that said, I have a problem with that in terms of this city not having those sidewalks that should already been there, considering the fact that this is a Purple Heart acknowledgement. Because somebody explained that to me. When they gonna get it started on that? Are they gonna use the inmates, to do it? The county prisoner. This is Coweta County. They got a county, what they call it, prison details. I don't know. I was doing my research, pursuing the OCGA Title 26, based on what can be done per city members, council members, in terms of the money that's set aside. I even thought about the heavy highway use tax, monies for that, which would be like Highway 29, 2290, monies for that. When are they gonna start on the handicap accessible sidewalks is my main concern. Uncompleted.
Anybody want to address that?
I'll address it. First of all, I appreciate your service, and I appreciate you coming to the council and expressing your concerns. We'd be happy to do it if there was some money to do it. What you're asking, I mean, it's not just Hilltop that doesn't have sidewalks. You start downtown and you go right down Bohannon Road and right into the neighborhoods there, they can't get downtown. We got neighborhoods, we got Arnold Street, we got Maple Street, we got neighborhoods all over this town with no sidewalks. You did move here recently and there were no sidewalks. Part of that's on you. I would love to see sidewalks put here, but you can't put this literally millions of dollar project on the backbone of 1,000 paying customers, 1,000 houses. We can't pay for that. But if you want to work with a committee and help find some grant money, if we can get some grant money, we'll spend it. I think sidewalks are a great idea. But it's not just Griffin Street. This whole town, half this town doesn't have sidewalks, and we got kids that come out of their yard, they gotta walk down the street to get to bus, and they don't have sidewalks. So it's not just Griffin Street, it's all over the town. And quite frankly, we don't have the money we just don't have the money.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. I'm gonna ask my godmother, Senator Donvilla James, about the matter as well, because my main concern again is American with Disability Act on a federal level and let it fall down here. Because again, we should have here, this is my relative now, we should have handicap accessible sidewalks. Be it eminent domain, that's created. And you know how that goes, as you said, former mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Wait, just
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to now, I'm in accord that all of our street needs a tender touch, and we need sidewalks to be upgraded throughout our city. But right now, where they are trying to put the money, three votes, they already have sidewalks. They may not be 100% up to par, but they are still usable. So we have sidewalks on Lone Oak Street coming into town versus Griffin Street, all you have is grass on both sides. Now, I would be in accord, Smith Street is, in my opinion, is in worse shape than Lone Oak Street. But this is where the focus is, on Lone Oak Street. You just moved here, thank you for coming, but there are 50 plus houses in Summerhill. And those people, I believe, would walk north and south to our city. Yes, we are a Purple Heart City. Yes, we need to have sidewalks because exercise helps to prolong life. So I hope you will keep standing strong for this, because right now I'm just in the wilderness crying for these sidewalks. But Griffin Street is more in dire need, in my opinion, than Lone Oak Street, because they already have sidewalks that can be repaired. Smith Street has a bad street that needs to be paved, but no one is talking about Smith Street. And yes, all of our streets needs to be upgraded, but we need sidewalks so people can walk, and not on the sidewalk and not in the grass. That's
Yes,
my
ma'am.
opinion.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, sir. I just want to clarify something that might have been misunderstood by what you said. We're not spending any money doing sidewalks on Lone Oak Street, not a dime. What we've got is the busiest street in town. May I speak without interruption, please?
Please.
Thank you.
Please.
What we've got is the busiest street in town in disrepair with potholes. Smith Street, that's the first time I've heard anything about that, but it's almost an alley compared to Lone Oak Street. all the kids on the school buses, all the families, on this side of the railroad tracks, almost all of them go down Lone Oak Street to get their kids to school, to pick their kids up. The school buses use it. It's a very active highway, and if you want to make time, you go down Lone Oak Street to get to the interstate because it's faster. It puts you on the 55-mile-an-hour right away. So it's in disrepair. You've got to wander through it because of the holes, and we're just trying to fix a road for safety. We're not fixing sidewalks on Lone Oak Street.
Well, yes, sir, I understand that, and however, keep in mind, as I stated earlier, going back to the 2290 heavy highway use tax, based on the 18-wheeler that I see out of my window. In fact, I got it on camera, on my security camera, looking at it. I'm showing my wife, I'm like, baby, don't go out there walk. She's a law enforcement officer in Peachtree City. I said, don't do it now, because she almost got ran over. Where he was talking about the tree down, she had to go around the tree and, wow. But again, Purple Heart, this is a Purple Heart city, that's military, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, and I did my research. So again, when the 18-wheelers are bypassing the scale house and cut through Grantville, even on 29, that's heavy highway use tax. Somebody need to come up with it, 2290.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
And keep in mind, Griffin Street, buses, school buses, comes up Griffin Street as well,
Yes, ma'am.
and lots of traffic.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
And just as a side point, our streets downtown, our sidewalks downtown, they are handicap accessible. They were done several years back.
Yes,
I
sir.
don't know whether they're 100% compliant, but they are accessible.
Yes, sir. I'll be more on it, and I'm gonna stay on top of this. Like I said, I'm gonna talk to my mom and see what we can come up with. Much obliged, y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Tony. Kim Thomas. Ms. Thomas,
Yes, I don't have anything to say
you don't have,
about it this time.
all right, we got anybody else over there, Robbie? All right, city council comment.
Motion.
Go ahead.
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn, have a second.
Second.
A motion and a second, all in favor, signify by
Aye.
opposed.
No.
I oppose.
All opposed too. Councilman, Mr. Waycasey, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I do. One thing that came up during the meeting that was, concerned me is, there was a reference to the city manager about through some third-hand information that he's spending too much money. And I begin to realize in my 2 years in office here that some of our past administrations have kicked the can down the road about taking care of our utilities and our streets. And now, all of a sudden, you're faced with some problems that have to be fixed in some fashion or another. I think we were just maybe a little bit too conservative when it came to doing some things. I mean, everybody knows our sewer system is in disarray and we're losing water. Our utility lines look like a jigsaw puzzle. I just think that we're gonna have to spend some money to keep Grantville up to date. Everybody wants people to come here. But, and it's easy to throw rocks at the city manager. He's a hired employee. So this council is the ones that votes what to spend and not to spend, for the most part. So I just wish people would, you talk about working together, working with each other, and then every time there's an opportunity, you use the scapegoat and throw a rock at somebody that's really, I think, doing a pretty good job and doing the best he can in a bad situation. If he doesn't do his job like Councilmember Sales, it's our duty to the citizens of Grantville to make a change. But so I wish there wouldn't be any third-hand criticism of somebody that's without knowing the facts. That's all.
Okay, Mr. King.
First, I'd like to say thank you all for coming, and thank you to our service members who've done their service. That's very much appreciated. The second thing I heard tonight was on sidewalks, and God knows I would love to see sidewalks throughout this city, and not just downtown, and not just on Griffin Street. But I would like to see us maintain what we already have. Not let the sidewalks go the same way that the sludge pond's been let go. And the sludge ponds are not the city manager's fault. It's gonna cost us $1 million to do all 4 of them. That's just guesswork. But I believe I'm probably gonna be in the right parameter. And I don't want to see our sidewalks get let go to put in new ones. Handicap compliant is important. It's the law. But maintaining what we have in existence is far more important to me than putting in new ones. Oh, new one's all nice and shiny and great for the people who walk on it. Myself, I don't. I don't use sidewalks. At least I try to keep the car off them. But at the end of the day, it's maintaining what we already have. Be it that means cutting out a section or removing a tree or whatever it causes it to be, is just what it has to be. And we must maintain that as well as improve our system where we can, when we can. And due to lack of, due to monetary concerns, those options are limited. But I did hear your opinions about the condition of the sidewalks in certain areas of the city, specifically on Lone Oak Street. We'll see what we can do to address that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mark. Ms. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, when citizen call me, we have conversations, whether in person, by text or email. I feel obligated to share their concerns and thoughts because they are the one who put us in office. So when I share what they share with me, it is not gossip, it is not hearsay. It's a one-on-one conversation that they are having about their concerns to their elected officials. Now, and I'm going to continue to share what they are dissatisfied about. Hopefully, it will improve. Yes, I have said more times than I can remember that we need to work as a team. We are going to be able to get more done working as a team than we are divided. That goes without saying. So I hope we can work as a team on the needs of our city. As I forestated earlier, sidewalks needs to be if money becomes available. T-Splosh didn't pass. Then I believe that we need to prioritize our greatest need where it needs to be. Langston Hughes said, "Go where there is no trail and leave one." There are no sidewalks in different parts of our city. Right now, in my opinion, Griffin Street is more traveled, though we have not had a survey to give facts concerning that. But I believe if we did, that those houses street is more traveled than the other streets in this city at certain times. So, with that said, and with all the families there in the subdivision and along Griffin Street. It would be wise, in my opinion, to seek for funds to install handicap sidewalks so that the people can go from north to south in a safe manner. I've lived here for years, I can't count. This is a great city. If we ever could just come together and work for what's best for our city, I think we would be astounded at what we could do. Thank you so much for coming, and please enjoy the rain for the rest of the week. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Hines. Mr. Sells.
So much hypocrisy. We talk about teamwork. The majority council has voted. We need to repair Lone Oak Street between the railroad tracks and Highway 29. We voted. It's done. But it's not teamwork because we didn't vote the way someone else wanted. So every meeting, we got to get beat up about the same thing that the majority council has already voted on. Teamwork means when you lose to the majority, you lost. You don't keep pouting and badgering and wearing everybody out. The other thing is, if somebody tells you somebody else said, you know in the 9th grade, that's not fact. And it may help your case to disparage a person that you heard some gossip about, but you didn't hear it. And to say, well, this other person heard it, well, you know, there's not a court in the land that will let you bring in hearsay. Not one. All right. And the other thing is sidewalks. Oh, God bless them. I wish we could put sidewalks everywhere. We need probably about $8 million. I'm all for sidewalks. I'm not against sidewalks. But I am against what we put on the backs of the citizens of Grantville, and there's just not enough of them to do this nonsense for one specific part of the community. There's just not enough money. I'm catching heck on social media because the sidewalk's not repaired over across from the post office. You know, because the city requires me to repair my own sewer line all the way to where it meets the city sewer line, which is in the middle of the street, I can't fix that. I've got to hire a professional plumber, and I've got to get a permit, and he has to do the job. I'm not allowed. And he tells me he can't pour concrete on top of mud because it won't stay and it'll have to be torn out and done again. And you know what we've got all over the community? We've got very saturated soil. And my hired professional will fix that sidewalk when it will be fixed permanently. And a simple request to me would have gotten that answer. It might not have satisfied you, but would have gotten the answer. I'm a doer. I catch most of my heck. I catch all of my heck from non-doers. I'm busy with 16 employees working all through the town every day, every business day. We're trying to do things. You don't have to like me, you don't have to help me, but good Lord, it's gotten impossible. You know how many repairs we're going to do on the buildings downtown? None. Safe Built is so restrictive, you think we're building a skyscraper downtown. They throw out stuff that is totally unnecessary to make sure they don't get sued when it's done. It's cost me a fortune, it's cost me 2 years. I'm not starting on the other buildings because I can't afford it. We run business off down here with our attitudes. We run business off. And then there's no money to make repairs. I'll sell the downtown property dirt cheap because I can't do much with it. And then now I want to build 7 houses. I've asked the HPC to give me approval to build 7 brand new houses inside the historic district, which is way too big. And they've made it very clear don't even come to the meeting. Unless you want to build a mill house, like what's there with double doors, hip roofs, and that size, that 800 square foot size, unless you want to build a mill house, you're not coming to the meeting. They've given me a long laundry list when I made my request to build 7 new houses. So, we want to do things in this town, or we want to fight the people that are trying to spend money and trying to do it. And I say the city's decided to fight, and that's just the way it is. Thank you for your patience and listening to all of us express our opinions tonight.
Is that it? You finished?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to thank everybody for coming in tonight. It's kind of, a lot of things went on. One thing I found interesting is they talked about the majority. The majority can be a majority and still be wrong in what they're doing. And in my opinion, the way they're trying to change the form of this government is not the right way to do it. And I guess to prove my point that the majority is not necessarily right. Tonight on the vote, unless I voted to break the tie, 2 of the gentlemen up here wanted to exclude council comments, but I think they took the most time in making the comments that they didn't want to allow. Another thing on my mind is citizens' comments. You have a right to come up and address this council. That's a constitutional right, and I will fight always to do that. But you don't have the right to disrespect this council. But also, my dad always said, you cannot force somebody to respect you. You gotta earn that respect. And if you don't respect the citizens of this town, I have a hard time trying to get them to respect you. And by getting up and walking out, that shows total, utter non-respect, in my opinion. The other thing is the changes of the ordinances. People wanted to say it's a big threat. No, it's not a threat. I believe the charter can be changed, but I think there's a right way of doing it and a wrong way of doing it. And they're going down the wrong road, in my opinion. And that's why I am going to go to the courts and see if the courts agree with me or not. And I know our state representatives, Mr. Matt Brass, and the other one in the House, Bob Trammell. But one of the council members mentioned that he's already talked to them and they advised him. I can't believe that they did, and I would be greatly disappointed if they convened with one member of this council without waiting to hear all the story. But anyway, I thank y'all for coming out, and like I say, I'm fighting this battle on this charter, not just for me, but for all the future mayors that come down here and for the citizens of this town. And I will always fight for what I believe is right. And I just thank y'all for being here. Mr. Greenshaver, you got any comments?
Yes, sir, I do. It's on the strategic planning session. I'm going to put that on the work session agenda rather than go over my thoughts tonight. That way everyone will have it prior to the work session. Thank you, that's all.
We don't have the attorney here tonight. I wish they had been here. Might have saved us some. And that, there again, that's a problem when we change these meetings just for convenience of one or two people. But
We all
nothing
gonna
to
do
come,
comments
nothing to
again?
come before the
Motion to
council.
adjourn?
All right, got a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. We're adjourned.